Welcome, everybody. Today, we continue our journey through the history of the Star Wars modding community. For that reason, I'm very excited to say hello to Aaron, a longtime player and skilled modder of Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Thank you very much. Good to be here. As he said, I'm Aaron. Hopefully, I hope I'm skilled. I'm not so sure about that, but I guess I've been doing it for a while. Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Well, after having a look at your mod database page, holy cow, you are skilled. And I played through your different mods today. I can't wait to hear some facts about it. But before we go into it, I would like a little bit about yourself. Who are you?
Yeah, so I am a senior technical designer actually at Dambuster Studios in the UK. Not been there for long. Previously was at a different company from Edinburgh, not Rockstar. People always ask me that. But yeah, I have quite a long history making stuff for video games, not just making games themselves. But when I was 15, I started making mods for Battlefront 2. And yeah, ever since then, it's just been making loads of mods, making games on the side as well, and making games professionally. Yeah, that's pretty much at least the professional summary.
At least you have a background. I see that's not every modder has this, but of course, not every modder needs it. But it's good to have, I guess.
Definitely helps, yeah. Especially with like the scripting aspect, because that's what I do professionally is like kind of scripting things, not hard like C++ programming, but using Blueprint and Unreal and Lua and all that kind of stuff, which is great for modding Battlefront because Battlefront uses the same scripting language that I'm used to professionally, which is very transferable, obviously. That's quite nice.
That's a good coincidence, definitely. But before we go more into modding, I also would like, how did you get into Star Wars and later on into Battlefront?
Well, I've always been a fan of Star Wars. I think my first exposure to it would have been probably like I think it was the '97 special edition release, the cursed release, I should say, on VHS. I think one of my earliest memories with Star Wars is the AT-AT walkers on Hoth, seeing them through the binoculars. It's just always been like my favorite part of Star Wars is just the scope of it and everything. But eventually later on, so I basically had Star Wars from pretty much my whole memorable life. I got to see the prequels in theaters, thankfully, outside of Episode One. I guess my dad didn't approve. Eventually, got into Battlefront 2 in I think 2005. We got it for the Xbox, and then later I got it for PC in 2008 because our Xbox broke, as original Xboxes tended to do. Yeah,
Was this the console with the red button, the red thingy? I can't remember, only vaguely.
no, that was on the 360, which our 360 also red ringed eventually. But I think in order to, we played it originally on the original Xbox. I think the original Xbox just kind of malfunctioned at some point. I think we got it used probably just needed a good dusting to be honest. But yeah, the problem with the 360 was that in order to play original Xbox games, you needed a patch, and I didn't know how to install the patch, and it was the Xbox 360 Core Edition, which did not come with Wi-Fi built in, and it was nowhere near the router, so we basically just had no way to play it until I got it for PC. And actually, it was I guess 2007.
And what led you then into modding?
My best mate and I think we kind of wanted to make a map based on one of our neighborhood parks, and we put in the work. We rode our bikes to the map or to the park, figured out where all the CPs would go. Looked on Google Maps, made placed a bunch of little icons where the vehicles would spawn and everything, which was quite nice. It's like the paper prototype's already done. It's already done by Google satellites or whatever. And eventually I downloaded the mod tools, found out about GameToast, the GameToast forums, which was like the one-stop shop, I suppose, for modding Battlefront games, and found a good mapping tutorial and decided to make a map. And I did, and eventually it released, I think like a year and a half later. Yeah, and it was pretty well received, to be honest, which was very, very pleasing to me, because, putting, as like a, 15, 16-year-old kid, putting something like that out there into the world is daunting, I suppose. It's very exciting as well. Learned a whole lot about a lot of things, game making wise and everything along the way.
Those really were some special days, special years back then. Everybody who got into mapping and modding later more or less created a map from his surroundings, his school, his
Yeah.
parks, his home. It's so classic. I love this history facts.
Yeah. Later on, I made actually my most recent map was a map of kind of my childhood bedroom, which I think is like a classic map to make. Yeah, I think they're called like rat style maps. People would always make them for like Counter-Strike and Gary's mod. I think that's probably a typical first map as well. But maybe I should have done that instead. But yeah, it's quite good.
It's a typical map for FPS games, but to be honest, are rare. They are not that often. I love them every time. I also love your version.
Ah, thank you. I put a lot of work into it. I don't know why I did, but I did.
So it's really a kind of. It's really your room? Is this true?
It's not like layout wise, but it's a lot of the same stuff. You know, the computer with Zero Editor, and which is the map editor from Battlefront. Oblivion on the TV. You know, a billion copies of Battlefront for the Xbox for some reason. You know, that kind of thing. Boxes and boxes of Cheez-Its.
That's cool.
Yeah, good times.
Yeah, as I mentioned in the beginning, you have a few projects on mod database.
Just a few, yes.
Can you give me and maybe the audience a short summary? What did you do?
Yeah. So my biggest and most favoritist would be my Mass Effect Unification project. That is pretty much my baby, and it's been my baby since just after I released Pioneer Trails, which is the neighborhood park map I was talking about. Around the time I released that, I also kind of got into the Mass Effect series. This was before the third game came out. So it was actually kind of the perfect time to get into it because lots and lots of hype around it. Lots of fans of the games and everything. When I played the Mass Effect games and finished them, I was like, sure, okay, surely someone's made like a map for Battlefront of Mass Effect or some sort of mod. Turned out no one did. And so I decided to make one myself. It's like, you know what? If no one else is gonna do it or has done it, I might as well do it myself, I guess. I really wanted to play as like the different alien factions in like a big battlefield setting. And Battlefront is honestly perfect for it. It fits really, really well. And eventually I released it like a couple years later and everyone agreed it worked really, really well. I suppose the glove fit quite well, which is good. Later on, I worked on Battlefront Evolved, which I think is quite popular these days. One of the first Clone Wars mods that was ever put on or advertised in anyway on ModDB. Took ages to finish because we kept losing the source code. That was another big one, and just miscellaneous maps and stuff, including the Sol map pack, which my Pioneer Trails map eventually got put into. And yeah, I think that's pretty much most of the mods anyway that I have on ModDB. A lot of them have gotten multiple releases. Evolved and Clone Wars not, but I think the Sol map pack has had one or two. Mass Effect Unification has had 6.5, which is 6 and a patch, a very important patch. Currently working on a 7th iteration of Mass Effect Unification. Don't have a date on that yet, but one day, soon, TM. Yeah.
Especially the Mass Effect is very unique. The HUD design, the different abilities, it's really unique. But to be honest, also a little bit chaotic. It was sometimes hard to see, hey, who is my friend, who is my enemy? It's tough, but I enjoyed it.
Evolved versus Heretic Geth in particular is a sticking point for that, for sure. Yeah, that's something we need to improve for sure in the next release somehow.
And how easy was it for you to move the different franchises and different eras from Star Wars into Battlefront 2?
Honestly, not too bad. Like at least for the Alliance faction, it actually fit quite well because you have your engineer, your sniper, your soldier, 2 special-ish units, and I guess the third one's kind of like 3 special units, sort of, anyway. It fit quite well, yeah. I mean, all the factions, I think it's kind of just like the whole shooter game archetypes of those, basically what I just described, assault, capping, sniping, vehicle busting, what have you. Yeah, it worked quite well. It wasn't too bad. I had a lot of ideas as I was playing through the Mass Effect games. It's like, so if no one else has done this, I think I have a few ideas here for how this could work. I actually made a post on the Game forums ages and ages and ages ago, right before I started working on it. I think I was in the middle of like Mass Effect 1 at the time. like just laying out what I thought would like the factions would look like. It's quite a silly post and it's very nebulous ideas wise, but I mean I guess I essentially did it. So not too nebulous, I suppose. But it was a ton of work, so especially getting art. Getting art is always the worst part.
It definitely it looks like a lot of work in all your projects. It's amazing what you did.
Thank you.
Did you nearly do everything yourself, or did you have a team behind you? How did this work?
Well, I've worn every hat. I've learned how to do all the different things over the years, which has been very, very useful for later projects. Originally, I was planning on just learning how to do everything myself. Art has always been my big weak spot, especially character art. It like human anatomy just doesn't click for me in terms of how to topologize like a 3D model or what have you, or rig it or anything like that. But when the project was still a work in progress, I posted about it on the Game Toast forums, in the work in progress threads, and I started garnering a lot of interest from other modders. One of whom is actually now working on his own game called Aero GPX, which is like an F-Zero like game. He made single-handedly every single character model in the game, and he did an absolutely outstanding job. Like we could not be happier. We haven't used. I don't think we've ripped a single like art asset from any of the Mass Effect games. So obviously, like recreating the art style and everything for Battlefront, especially a much much older game than Mass Effect, has been quite a huge challenge, I suppose. It's always character art which gets in the way, which is also the reason why R7 of the seventh release of Mass Effect Unification isn't out, because we need someone to make Reapers, and Reapers are very alien looking and difficult, at least for me. So, yeah.
I can imagine creating all those art assets for yourself.
Yes.
It's a lot of work. I thought you would have used some other games.
Yeah, we've had lots of other different people like kind of come and go. People have come and made maps for us, and we've had people contribute to weapon art. That was like a big thing as well. Many different weapons, so definitely had a lot of people come and go. But the common collaborator I've always worked with on pretty much all my mods has been the Wolfman, James, my one of my best mates, James. He kind of helped rein me in a little bit with certain things, which is nice, especially like art direction wise, because that's kind of like his big thing when it comes to our mods. I'm more of like the designer, technical person. He's sort of the artist of the duo, I suppose.
And did you also together release the Republic Commando and the Clone Wars mod?
The Republic Commando mod was mostly AQT, I think. I think we did a little bit of QAing for him, and some model fixing, but that was mostly his project, I think. But Evolved, I kind of took more of the backseat. I think I mostly just fixed up some models on Evolved and did some QAing as well, packaging, etc. Evolved was more AQT and James. That was kind of their big project. Because I hate retouching up assets. It just drives me insane. Can't stand it. I don't know why. That's also why Evolve 2 hasn't come out.
But I noticed during the gameplay session tonight that every mod of yours plays really different. You have a different feeling of playing every iteration. It's interesting that you make so many different versions of the same game engine and it still feels different. It's good. It's really good.
It's one of the reasons why I love making mods for Battlefront. It feels like a big sandbox, and I have all these toys around me. I've been modding this game for 14 years. There's not a whole lot that I don't know how to do anymore. Like I'm starting to run out. I think the only things are like making new interfaces and I guess custom walkers. Like I feel like I've touched almost every single other aspect of the game, and yeah, I feel like a kid in a toy box, right? It's really fun. It's honestly just a joy to make stuff. Return to Jingling Town was probably the most fun I've ever had working on a mod, especially with how quickly we AQT and I and James made it. I guess it kind of helped that it was based on an existing map, which was Dan Boeing's absolutely wonderful Christmas in Jingling Town map. But yeah, it's just a lot of fun, honestly. Absolutely love it. No plans on stopping anytime soon.
I also noticed that you have so many different game modes, and especially my all-time favorite game mode in every game genre, co-op.
Ah.
it's amazing that you included so many stuff, so many modes, and yeah, co-op. It's amazing.
Which one did you co-op in?
Sadly, I played alone, so not really co-op. I just tested it for this interview,
All right.
but Return to Jingletown.
Ah, right. The multiplayer campaign, right?
Exactly. And the Republic Commander I also tried.
I haven't played that one in ages. Oh my goodness. I don't even remember what map that was on. That was probably the prosecutor map. Most likely, I think. Could be totally wrong.
I can't say the name, but it was on Kashyyyk.
Ah, interesting. Oh, was it Talay Tac Base, possibly? I don't remember all the maps. I don't remember all the maps in that mod. But yeah, one of those, right?
One of those, exactly.
Yeah. Co-op multiplayer campaigns are an absolute pain to make because you can't debug them. We have a debugger executable version of the game that gives us really handy like logging and console commands. You can't like Pandemic gave it to us, but they gave it to us crippled purposely, obviously, to, prevent people from like exploiting online and stuff. But you can't use it for multiplayer matches. So the only way you can debug them is just trial and error. Huge pain, but I'm glad we did it. It's quite fun. A lot of limitations around it, but very, very fun regardless.
It amazes me what you guys can do without the source code. Yesterday I talked to PK2 modder, and yeah, he told me you don't have the source code and still you achieve so much.
We sure would love the source code.
I can imagine.
It would at least help debugging for certain things, that's for sure. One day someone will leak it, please.
Well. We have to mention, of course, at least once, if you would have the source code, it's definitely the last nail in the coffin for Aspire that you would have done a better product than them.
Sad, but true.
Oh yes, sad.
Seems to be getting better, thankfully. Seems to be getting better with the patches. But my biggest gripe is the specular. The maps are ugly. They're just ugly. In my professional opinion, they are ugly. I wish they didn't touch it, but they did. So whatever.
Yeah, they made many stupid mistakes, sadly. And to be honest, let's imagine we wouldn't have multiplayer support for Battlefront 2 on the Steam client for many years now, which isn't true. We have it for many years now. But imagine they come, release this amazing classic collection, which includes multiplayer support again. And then after this fiasco of the re-release, they shut down. The whole company shuts down, and the servers are forgotten after 2 months. Amazing, yeah.
Ugh, yeah, that's kind of the fear, isn't it? We don't know enough about the server backend, like what kind of infrastructure they have to know if we can host without them. I guess it'll probably turn into my guess is it would turn into another GameSpy thing where we just have to find new name servers or something. Hopefully that's all. I'd like to think that they were too lazy to to put in anything more complicated than what was already there. So hopefully I'm wrong, but you never know.
BK2 couldn't answer that. Maybe you have the answer. Does the new version still have LAN support?
I'm not sure actually. That's a good question. I'm not sure either. I would imagine so. I think I've seen it in the menus of people playing. Surely they would keep that in.
Well. Not only have they now a reputation, but also sadly other projects which re-released games in the past, they dropped the LAN mode, which is a shame.
Weird. I don't know why they would do that. That's bizarre. That's a strange decision to make. They've made a lot of strange decisions though, so what's even strange anymore?
Talking about bugs and problems, did you experience some for your own mods?
Lots of bugs, yes, all the time. Always bugs.
I can imagine, but can you maybe name me a few big ones?
Oh, I think one of the more interesting ones that people don't know the cause of, but that I found out, and I keep preaching the cause. I keep telling people we already know what's causing this, but like, no, I'm not so sure about that because they don't want it to be true. But it's having a high field of view on certain maps. When you look up in the sky with a high field of view on some maps, I think Felicia is one of them, the game will crash. A lot of mod maps have had this issue, but we nailed it down to, or narrowed it down to that being the problem with, I think it was with the Clone Wars mod, which was unfortunate, but Yeah, I'm not sure if they fixed they surely have had to fix that for Classic Collection, but as if
Uh, don't be that sure.
I should reproduce it and then submit a report. Get them to fix it. That'd be great. I'd love that bug fixed. That's plagued many mod maps for a long time. One that we've never been able to find out is that sometimes when you load certain maps, the terrain will be glowing. Thankfully, the fix is to just restart the map, but it's still very annoying.
And were there maybe some features you would have liked in your mods but couldn't include for engine limitations or stuff like that?
Not really. Like I've always somehow managed to find out some ridiculous, absurd way to get whatever I want working in. Maybe a way that's kind of a little bit different from how I would want. Like the combat drone ability in Mass Effect Unification, it's not supposed to be a turret. It's supposed to be like a well, it's supposed to be kind of like a AI driven like like the recon droids. It's supposed to float around and zap people, right, or fire missiles at them or flamethrower them. But there is a very annoying bug with the game where hovering vehicles, if they are set to self-pilot themselves, the game crashes. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work. Flyers can do it. I think walkers can do it, but hovers just can't. So that's kind of annoying, but it is what it is, I guess. We've all kind of just lived with it. There's workarounds for it as well, but not worth it.
Yeah, working around problems, that's the big memo of every modder, I guess.
Yep. It's what I love about modding, though, as well. Working around ridiculous things, figuring out stupid solutions to things that are actually kind of cool. It's quite fun. I really love doing that.
And what would you say keeps you modding? Why are you still playing and modding this game after so many years?
Well, it's kind of like what I mentioned before. I see modding Battlefront as kind of like making games from a template, in a sense. I mean, they're all kind of basically the same game framework-wise, two sides shooting each other in big maps, probably with conquest mode. But yeah, it's like the challenge. I think it's kind of like the challenge of figuring those things out, figuring out ways to push the game even further, even further. Like one of the mods I eventually would like to make would be like a Terminator mod, set in the James Cameron's can't remember what it's called, but like his future war. I would love to make an open world Battlefront map. That'd be very, very interesting to try to do and to try to do it well and fun. But yeah, that one's just kind of on the back burner. One day it'll happen. And apparently there's a new Terminator game that's coming out that's already basically doing that exact idea. So I don't know if I'll even need to, but it would be fun. It would be a nice challenge, especially to design like a sort of open world game mode that's more than just just capture these command posts in this order. Far Cry 3, whatever. Capture the towers, blah blah blah. I guess it's like the challenge, basically. Yeah.
That would be amazing, having a Terminator multiplayer game.
I prototyped it, Fanon. I think I made up like a prototype in like 2019 of some stuff, testing out like giant terrains and testing out especially wheeled vehicles. Like I have like a truck test that kind of works out, but that's the other annoying limitation with the engine is that there's no way to like there's only hover. The only vehicle types we have is hover, walker, and flyer. There's no like specifically like suspended wheels. There's no like car suspension system in the game. There's similar things, but it just does not look quite right, which is why any mod that's ever done wheeled vehicles has always felt a little bit off. But it's fine. It's fine.
I guess nobody expect the perfect replica of a car or a plane. It's just fun. It's fun.
Yeah, it's Star Wars Battlefront 2. It's a 2005 video game that was made in like 10 months or whatever.
Not only that, it has also the feeling of a real good arcade game. It may sound strange, but the engine feels simple. It's not a hardcore survival engine where you have realistic depiction of cars, planes, and stuff. You don't need it.
Yeah, it would be nice, but it's not really necessary. It's actually more fun in some ways to kind of try to figure out to use the tools that we have to make something new and interesting and kind of innovative, I suppose. To innovate with this stupid 18-year-old or actually nearly 20-year-old game. It's just fun. It's more interesting. That's why I think a lot of older games, from like the PlayStation 1, PS2, even PS3 era are just so much more interesting is because the developers had so many limitations that they had to be creative with and work around. But now it's like, oh, I have the RTX 4 million. I can run whatever. I can calculate the something or another. I can break encryption with this graphics card. Can run anything. But that's not that interesting. You can make anything, but you don't have to be creative with it. You can, but you're not required to.
Not only that, but back then they didn't have the amazing tools we currently have. The giant libraries of databanks. Doesn't matter if you need a netcode or textures, you can find it. Or have an AI created in 5 seconds.
Exactly. Don't need netcode because there is no internet.
Yeah.
Perfect.
What is LAN mode?
Oh, yeah, honestly.
I guess after modding so many different ships, features in this game, it's maybe hard for you to answer that, but do you have a favorite?
It's hard to place like a single favorite. I think Jingling Town has most of my favorites, to be honest. I really, really found out through making Jingling Town, the Return to Jingling Town, that I love to make big action set pieces. My favorite would probably be the sleigh chase, where you're chasing chasing drunk Santa's sleigh as he trying to get him not to crash, chasing him through the town. All these little scripted events happening around you to this wonderful music. It's a lot of fun. All the music set pieces in Jingling Town were so much fun to make because they're like all my favorite music, and it's just absolutely wonderful. Can never go wrong with the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, to be honest. Especially like just lobbing hundreds of snowballs into Java elf things set to Wizards in Winter is just a joy to make and to play, I think.
And it's very unique. I mentioned this also yesterday. There are not many games or mods which have the theme of Christmas. It's rare that you have a Christmas town.
Yeah.
And again, Battlefront 2 is the ideal engine for fun stuff like this. I always loved when modders do something really funny. If they don't try to be the next Counter-Strike or the next big Battlefront mod, just something funny.
Dan Boeing, who made Christmas in Jingling Town originally, was the master of funny. He was the absolute master of just the most ridiculous shit you've ever seen. Like, it's like you play one of his maps and you're entering an acid trip. Like, that's what it is. That is what it is. It's not literally, but it might as well be. It's great. He really did a great job with that. Maybe he'll come back someday. You could convince him to make Christmas in Jingling Town 2 or something. Battle Arena 3, what have you.
Those maps are just the best experience of any LAN party. I loved stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yes. So much fun. It's been a long time since I've even experienced them online because they always crash. For some unknown reason. I don't know. Maybe it's the 4,000 giant rockets being lobbed everywhere. Couldn't be me. Who knows? It's a mystery. I should maybe fix those maps up as well. He's allowed people to use his source assets for stuff like that. So.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, maybe one day. Maybe more projects.
Talking about the future, what is the future of your projects? When can we see maybe a new update?
Well, like I mentioned, I think R7 of Mass Effect Unification is coming at some point. Started in 2021, got really good chunk of the way through it. But again, character models are where character art in general is kind of like my biggest. It's like the bane of my existence, pretty much. So getting character artists who are willing to volunteer for free, ideally, because no one's making money from Battlefront modding. So everyone's pretty much just doing it volunteer, just out of passion, right? Yeah, getting character artists is always the hardest thing, for sure. But yeah, that's kind of what's always held up Mass Effect Unification, especially from adding like more alien factions. That's always been people's biggest request. They always want to play as the Quarians or the Turians or what have you. Sorry. But you can because I don't have a model for that. I don't have models for these things. It's so frustrating for me. But yeah, it is what it is. I'd like to do more releases of MEU, not just the one R7. I'd like to like add Cerberus and the Merc factions and what have you. I want to add more maps for the Sol map pack. I want to do I love our universe. I love our solar system. Would love to make more maps around that. That'd be great. Maybe another release of Clone Wars in the future. The biggest lacking thing with the Clone Wars mod is that we decided to cut heroes because we didn't have time. But I think we'd definitely like to do that for the next release of that. Eventually, maybe the next 20 years. People are still playing.
Especially if you consider that there are 7 seasons of Clone Wars.
Christ, honestly, yeah.
There is a lot of content which you could cover.
Lots of content, yes, there is. Even some campaign modes would be kind of cool. I don't think anyone's done any Clone Wars campaigns as far as I know. I know some people have done kind of pseudo campaigns. I think the Landing in Point Rain map, which James actually helped out with. I think that was Spider Pig's map. I think that kind of had a campaign-ish. It kind of felt like a big campaign, sort of, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, we haven't really gotten many Clone Wars based campaigns. That'd be interesting. No promises.
Sadly. Sadly.
Because our bar of quality is that everything needs to be, if we're going to have a campaign, the characters need to be voiced because, well, it's more immersive. And it's fun.
Well, that's easy today. Skynet, the friendly neighborhood AI, can do everything.
Fucking 11 Labs to do do Rex or what have you. Get the clankers! Yeah, something like that. Fun times.
I would say there's a big chance that you also played the other Battlefront games.
Yep.
What do you think about those?
I've tried the dice games. They're really gorgeous. They're absolutely gorgeous games. They're one of the few games that have done like HDR and stuff well. It's kind of funny. Very beautiful, beautiful games. But I think I would enjoy them more if I tried them on consoles, to be honest. They feel like console games. They don't really play well with mouse and keyboard, to be honest. Maybe I could just use a gamepad with PC, but I haven't tried that. I'm just not a fan of the gameplay, but I get a lot of people like them, and that's great. I'm glad people have that. That's wonderful. Yeah, they are what they are. I wish they were a bit different. I wish the vehicles spawned differently. I think a lot of people wish the vehicles spawned differently. I wish it was just Battlefield with Star Wars. That's what I wish. I wish they were specifically Battlefield 4, but with a Star Wars skin. But obviously they can't do that. Can't compete with themselves. So
that, and even in the Battlefield games, they are moving away from the big immersion to instant gratification.
Oh my god!
And the best thing is that you have also bonus cards where you have 20% more damage output or 20% more shields or a few.
Don't get me started. Not ideal. Yeah, I don't like the direction Battlefield as well is taking. Not a fan. Haven't tried 2042, but yeah, not interested. Unfortunate. 4 was such a good game.
Talking about other games, did you also mod other games or did you primarily mod Battlefront?
I've thought about it. I've never done it. I think if I were to mod another game, I'd probably either do Oblivion because I love Oblivion, but that would probably just be more for curiosity. There's nothing I really want to make for Oblivion except for maybe new quests or something, or maybe like sound mods because I've not been too happy with most of the sound mods that have been made for it. Or Day of Defeat. I love Day of Defeat Source. I've considered making a Mass Effect mod for it, but I just never gotten around to it. I think that'd be a pretty fun one. I really, really like that game a lot. Seeing Mass Effect units in it would be quite funny.
Definitely more Mass Effects and Terminator games. I would love them. I would play them. So please make them. Make them.
Hell yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, would be fun to learn Hammer Editor as well. I've always heard it's fantastic to use. No other games interest me. No, I mean, that's kind of the thing with Battlefront again. Like, it's a sandbox to me. It's like the perfect gameplay framework for the things I want to make.
And you're not too frustrated about the engine limitations?
Not really. I wish the sound memory was a little bit higher. 32 megabytes for all sound effects is kind of limiting, but you make it work. We've made it work. Generally don't need that much more than that anyway, but it would be nice.
Ooh, bonus question here. Do you know, is there any other game out there which has the same engine, which uses the same engine as Battlefront 2? So it's very similar to mod?
Not that's available to mod. I know the Clone Wars 2002 game that Pandemic made uses the same engine, or at least an earlier iteration of it, but I don't think it's moddable. I don't think it was even on PC. Maybe it would be if you figured that all out somehow. Yeah, I don't know how much console modding you can do for that generation of consoles, but that'd be an interesting kind of game to mod. I can't remember what game came directly after Battlefront, but I think the Lord of the Rings Conquest game used the same engine, which is probably why it played exactly the same as Battlefront. I think that's the only. I think that's the only other games that use it. But the Lord of the Rings game wasn't moddable as far as I know. So yeah, nothing that's moddable, unfortunately, as far as I know.
Oh, now I remember I had to look up Lord of the Rings Conquest. I vaguely remember I played it, but yeah, the pictures are very similar. It's true.
Yes, the gameplay is almost identical, which is probably why it's called Lord of the Rings Conquest. Never have played it personally. Kind of vaguely interested, but I haven't really played a lot of Pandemic games to be honest. Mostly just the Clone Wars game, Battlefronts, and a little bit of the Saboteur.
Yeah, they didn't really make that many games, if I remember correctly. So it was a small studio.
Yeah, they really took their time on when they could. They made a game for the U.S. Army apparently. I can't remember what that was called. I think that's where Mercs came from, but I can't remember. Bizarre industry to get into if you're a game maker.
Definitely. But since we are drifting already a little bit off topic, I would say this is a perfect time to open the mic to you. Is there anything you would like to add? Anything we didn't touch?
Well, I think this like kind of sort of podcast type thing is a really great idea. It's really good to get some more spotlights on the Battlefront community, especially recently. Like this is the perfect time to do something like this. Like if this had been like before the first Classic Collection trailer come out, wouldn't have been as popular. I mean, probably, but yeah, like it's really really great to see everyone. We've had loads and loads of new people join the Timecodes server. I don't know with what intention. Hopefully to mod, but even just to lurk and play mods is just really wonderful. I feel like on ModDB, just the stats have just been drooping and drooping and drooping. I guess a lot of the original fans have just either grown out of it or something. I don't know. But as soon as James updated the Battlefront Evolved ModDB page, suddenly it spiked to like number 9 in popularity on ModDB. Meanwhile, I'm updating the MEU page and it's like maybe spot 100. It's quite funny. People really love Evolved. Which is fair enough. I mean, it's a good mod.
I guess the sci-fi community in general, they love mods. They love playing all these great Star Wars, Star Trek, Stargate mods. Because, to be honest, the game companies, yeah, they don't deliver the goods.
Yeah, too risky of an investment, I suppose, in their eyes anyway. Not for me. My investment is $0, so that's good for me. If it fails, oh well. At least I learned something, which is great.
Well then, I say thank you for joining me. It was nice learning about your projects, and I also would like to know where a nice artist could find you and offer some help for your mod projects if you need a little bit help there.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a few places you could contact us. You could go to the Frayed Wires Studios ModDB page. I think you can comment on that, but it might be better if you PM'd me on ModDB. You could message me on Discord, which my Discord handle is techdesigner, all one word. Or you can email the email address, which is us@frayedwiresstudios.com. Not Frayed Wire, Frayed Wires. People have gotten that confused many times. Studios, not studio. So frayedwiresstudios.com.
That's not a problem. For the audience out there, I will put everything in the description so you can just click a link.
That's perfect. Fair enough. Yeah, it's been great to be on. It's been an absolute delight.
I can only say the same. Thanks again.
Yeah, of course.
And that's it for this video. Leave us a comment, tell us what you think about the game, and of course, play the game. Until next time.